Here is an overview of some graphing features of the NumWorks calculator. First of all, we're going to go not to the calculation app, but we're going to move over to the functions app because we're going to enter some functions. The first one, let's make it a quadratic. So let's do x squared minus 3x, let's say minus 5. Okay, so we're going to go to the graph, so we need to use the up arrow. I should actually go down to plot the graph, but I'm going to go up and over to graph and hit OK. And that's the graph. The scale is automatically set by NumWorks calculator to be a reasonable window. And you can, cursor around, see some values. Let's say you want to find out what the value is when x is equal to 5. Well, you could just type in the number, just enter the number 5. You don't have to do anything, and it tells you when x is 5, hey, f of x is 5. When x is 6, it's 13. It does use function notation. Let's calculate the minimum. So when you're in the graph, before I do that, let me just show that you can hit the minus if you wanted to zoom out, or the plus if you wanted to zoom in. If you wanted to go back to having it automatically set the scale for you, just go up there and hit OK. Let's go back down into the graph. So you can see I'm in the graph now. When you're in the graph and you hit OK, it pulls up the menus to find different things. So if we calculate the minimum, it tells us at 1.5 the minimum is negative 7.25. So let's add another function to the graph. I'm going to oops, I have to hit OK to get out of this. Now go back up to the functions, hit OK, and then hit the down arrow and enter to add another function. So let's get a function, let's say 7/3. And again, don't put the x in the denominator. So let me back up there. 7/3 x, let's say plus 2. And let's graph it and see what that looks like. Okay, so here we can see the two graphs. And I'm going to hit the OK button again. This time calculate the intersection. So I'm going to hit OK. And I'm going to calculate the intersection between those two lines. And there's one intersection at negative 1.09 roughly. And the y value is there. But I can just hit my cursor and go over and see the other intersection. There's another intersection when x is 6.4-ish. So this is how easy you could calculate intersections. And let's do one other thing. We've calculated what a function value is when I hit a number, let's say 2. I'll calculate the function at 2. What if you want to do the way around, like when is the function going to equal 20? We can hit OK, go back to calculate. And this one's called inverse image. So the inverse is you plugging in, essentially, you're plugging in the y value. And I want to find out when it's equal to 20. And I'll tell you the x value. So the y value is 20 when x is negative 3.7, and also when it's 6.7. So that's probably a good enough start to graphing.